went to school for this, and does anybody have the phenobarbital plug?
Hi, I'm G. Bearhat. I was a writer and editor for 10 years, and I just like looking at dicks and butts, and there's a lot of those in this one.
Dicks and butts! Welcome to Film Critters Processes!
Honestly,
we gotta take out our microscope. Look at all these dicks and butts in detail.
I was gonna say, honestly, first thing that jumped out about me with this film, Sebastian Silva, great taste. Excellent taste in guys. Visually, I can't really speak for but I was like, all right. I see what you're putting down.
All right. Nice cocks.
Nice cock. But let's see how it works on the battlefield.
Yeah, we watched Rotting in the Sun, 2023 film by Sebastian Silva.
Yeah, it had a very, 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 like, 1 week, I think, like, theatrical run, basically. And then it was released to Mubi, which is why it took us a while to get to it, because not a lot of people pay attention to what's released on Mubi. And they should.
And they should start! Mubi, hit us up.
But Sebastian Silva, gay Chilean film director, wasn't actually super familiar with his stuff, but did find out via this movie, actually, that he directed a movie with Michael Cera.
That's awesome.
Like Michael Cera and like Gabby Hoffman.
That's so funny because there's a line about that in this movie.
Yeah, like I literally, when they got to that line in the film, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that movie with Michael Cera and Gabby Hoffman. I was just telling my friends about it. I like paused the movie and I was like, did this guy direct a movie with Michael Cera and Gabby Hoffman called Crystal Fairy and the Magical Cactus? Because it sounds like a thing he made up in the film.
I when that line was said in the movie, I was like, that's a hilarious joke.
No, I was like, it's way too specific to just be a joke. No, that's a real film. That is a real movie he made. Got good reviews. It's supposed to be good. I haven't seen it.
Oh, I'm sure. So, Rotting in the Sun. How to describe such a film? Definitely a dark black comedy.
It's not that dark.
It's not that dark. He only is a drug addict who wants to kill himself. It's fine.
Yeah, for like only a little bit of the film.
You're right. And then he does kill himself.
It's an accident. He does not.
That's true.
It was
That's
parasuicidal behavior. Come on, we all gay men go through that.
Yeah, that's real. We have this character, Sebastian Silva, who appears to be based off of the director,
who appears to just be the director. I think it's actually worth noting a lot of people in this film appear to just be playing themselves. Sebastian Silva plays Sebastian Silva, the director, who in the opening scene Googles himself and does not bring up Sebastian Silva himself, and so he has to add director, and I think still doesn't bring himself up.
Yeah, I think he's like 1 out of 5 Google image search results, which is like, oh man.
A really great joke to start your film off with.
Oh yeah, it's very hilarious. What did you think of his, like, Jesse Conda, like, ketamine, his, like, K-hole vision?
Oh, I wish there was more stuff like that in the film. I thought it was cool. I thought it was fun. Yeah, he's like a depressed cat head.
Yeah.
Is currently staying in Mexico City, with his... I guess I thought it was his manager, but might just be his landlord.
It's a little weird because it almost seems like both.
Yeah, like I at first I thought their dynamic was that like he's like his manager who's like found him this studio, but is like, yeah, you can do it because we're currently renovating it, so like you can live here because like what, it's like a bohemian thing for you.
Yeah.
But apparently he's like not his manager at all, despite basically having that role in his life. But that is Mateo, who is played by an actor named Mateo. Which is why I was saying I think that a lot of the people in this film are just kind of playing themselves.
Sure. More or less, definitely. I mean, oh my god, apparently they wanted Michael Cera in the lead role, but he said no because it was too sexual.
Really?
Yeah, that's reading the Wikipedia. That's IndieWire right there.
So would it have been Michael Cera playing Sebastian Silva?
I guess. I think so.
Because that would have been kind of a serve. And also kind of like a self-neg. Because
yeah.
gotta no offense to the Michael Cera, no offense to the Scott Pilgrim fuckers out there. But Sebastian Silva is like more traditionally attractive, let's say.
Sure. Yeah. Well, he's well, let's see. I don't want to speak out of turn with regard to Michael Cera.
Mm-hmm.
Is Michael Cera a gay man?
No. Well, pejoratively?
That don't count, and you know it.
No, I don't think he's even bi. I think he's just a weird looking guy. I think he's just a weird funny guy. Weird funny man.
Yeah. Yeah, so he has this we're immediately introduced to A, Sebastian, B, Mateo, C,
Vero,
yeah. Veronica, who is amazing. She's just the backbone of the film. You get quite a bit of her, but I was left wanting even more.
It's weird because she is kind of the backbone of the film, but I think that's mostly on the strength of her actress's performance.
True. Yeah.
More than the structure of the film.
She comes across very classical. Like she's just so deeply like convincing and like the thing that I was really struck most by her like performance throughout the film was like how visceral and like bodily it was. Overused terminology, sorry, but like she is racked with grief and anxiety and just like totally like on the edge.
Even before the kind of plot moment of the film. Let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, you're right. She really carries the role in her body very, very well.
Yeah. She's spectacular. So basically, Sebastian Silva's like to his like straight huge air quotes. We're gonna come back to that. His straight landlord manager guy, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill myself," and the landlord's like, "Okay, do it." But then he's like, "You should just go to the gay beach and get fucked a whole bunch."
Yeah,
which is a fair suggestion and even a good suggestion. But it's interesting that this is where it kind of starts to go like, I don't know, like, okay, basically he goes to the gay beach and he sees a bunch of naked guys walking around, and there's like a bunch of flopping dicks and a bunch of unsimulated gay sex happening all around him, and he's busy like doodling pentobarbital into his notebook, which is probably my single favorite image of the movie.
It's really good because there's a lot of like the camera constantly shows his furtive glances, like the gaze that we're constantly having on all these bodies in gay sex is of his gaze of like kind of furtively looking over and like obviously being attracted and interested, but like ultimately so anhedonistic that like he just is like, I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
Like when you see something that, like when you see a meal that looks really tasty, but you feel like so sick to your stomach that you're like, I can't even eat that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so eloquently kind of like illustrates that specific feeling. Because, you know, we've all been there, bitch.
Yeah, we've
that
all seen
is...
the horny, the combination vent at AD unlocked accounts of people.
Somehow it's the two sides of the coin.
Yeah, the two human interests are.
I'm gonna do so much fucking, and I'm gonna kill myself. Not necessarily in that order.
It's just the two states of modern man. I cannot wait to do so much drugs and fuck this weekend, and this time I'm really gonna do it. It's
no in between.
It should also be noted that throughout this, his landlord keeps going along with the like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself with the pentobarbital thing, but like really aggressively going along with it.
Yeah,
like in a way that to literally any third party observer would just come off like you're trying to get him to kill himself, which is relevant. Right. It's if you've ever seen like that, like I think it's like the Vine where the guy is just like, oh, I'm gonna jump. Nah, I'm just scared now. Oh, and then he's got like plates. He's like, oh, glug glug glug. like it's like that where he's just like taking the bit way too far.
Yeah,
like just sending him pictures of it and be like, order this on the rocks.
Oh yeah. The other thing that's, like, way too real is, I won't get too ahead. Basically, he meets Jordan Firstman, who plays, like, this drowning Instagram influencer who he, like...
Who plays
fully
himself.
Does not rescue.
Yeah, who plays himself.
Yes. Yeah.
Jordan Firstman, of Search Party, which is also relevant, plays Jordan Firstman, who, is a gay influencer, and to jump a little bit ahead, I also like with that movie title where you thought that's a great joke. I thought his impressions were like a great joke about like shallow, like front facing comedy bits. No, that's his actual. Those are like his actual videos. Like he actually like listed on his Wikipedia, which is how I found out it was real. He actually did the like POV. You were Banana Bread's manager. like the worst front-facing comedy content I've ever seen.
So funny. It's so weird to watch the death of that in real time.
Right? And it's so funny to like it's one of the highlights of the comedy of this film is them both just like willingly putting in their own material in a film narrative and script that just openly insults it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, to jump back, Jordan Firstman dying, Sebastian Silva does not want to get involved.
Yeah, but then he does. He like goes out into the ocean and like some other guy fully, like, saves Jordan Firstman's character, from what I remember, but then they have to go save Sebastian Silva.
Yeah, because he gets caught in a riptide.
Yeah. It's a whole complicated mess. Jordan Firstman's character is just like, you saved me.
Yeah.
Which is, like, not the truth, it feels like.
It also should be noted that he comes up to him, like, after Silva has been, like, rescued himself from almost drowning and is like clearly like physically like, oh, maybe I should go to a hospital. And he's just like, oh my God, you're like a famous director. Hi.
Oh my God. I just watched your movie with Michael Cera. It was so slay. Sickening diva. Yeah.
Oh my God. We're like, this is like fate. This is like fate.
You're dizzy right now? What are you talking about?
Oh my God, I'm dizzy. I'm dizzy with excitement.
Oh my God. Drink this Mai Tai, you'll feel better.
Do you want to go, like, have sex. It's very, it is like pitch perfect of like a type of gay guy, of like a type of like perpetually positive shallow himbo who is insane, who is an insane person.
I loved the guys coming up to them with their big cocks and being like, you guys want to have fun? And him being like, hi, nice to meet you, and shaking his cock. That was pretty good.
Oh god, what a funny movie at times.
Yeah. Among other things, so the less important thing that happens on the beach is that Sebastian does about 5 lines of ketamine, and everybody at the party is like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then Jordan immediately posted on Instagram, which is pretty hilarious.
Well, it also has one of my favorite interactions in the film, which is he like briefly talks about like suicide, and he's like, don't talk about that. Like, my sister killed herself. And he's like, oh my god, I'm kidding. She's a nurse. She saves people. That's like the opposite of killing yourself.
I'm funny. That scene was pretty goddamn good.
That scene is great. Like, that is the scene where I was like, oh, I've met this type of like positive to a point of being like, you're just an insane person. And
I'm a happy clown.
The great line where it's just, he's like, I don't want to talk about this suicide set. Okay, suicide is for faggots. And then just open palm slaps him.
And
goes, I like life.
Dude, how can she slap? Slaps him hard.
Yeah, like, just like completely catches him off guard. Just fully slaps him and is like, I'm happy though, actually.
The more important thing that happens is that Jordan offers to work with Sebastian Silva, which after the video gets posted on Instagram, Sebastian kind of like yells at him, which kind of leads into the happy clown discussion.
Yeah. And
but then when Sebastian goes home and all of his ideas are getting shot down by HBO, all of a sudden he's friends with Jordan Firstman.
Yeah, no, because HBO doesn't want to hear. And this is also, that pitch scene is where I feel like there's a slight undercurrent of like a theme of gay misogyny in the film. Mm-hmm. Because he has this whole thing where they're like, well, you know, because it's about women, we think it'd be a female director, and it's obvious that he's like, but I'm gay. Like, why?
Yeah.
What? Like, obviously is annoyed at the idea of like, we want a woman director to do this. And how that ties into the way in which like he just kind of ignores and like treats Vero as like just a thing that's around.
Mm-hmm. God, yeah, just treating her like shit.
Yeah. Not as bad as Mateo, but it's just like completely uninterested in her as like another person in his house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that's kind of an interesting undercurrent that I hadn't really like keyed into that hard, but I could tell that they were like doing something with it.
Yeah, it doesn't go too much farther in the film. It's like a mild undercurrent. Feels like something that was kind of tossed in there and then not really developed on much further.
Right. But then immediately after that, Sebastian dies.
Yeah, Sebastian. That's where the film like just kind of kicks off into the actual plot of the film, which is like Sebastian Silva dead, and like everyone is basically involved in a conspiracy around it.
Summing up the remainder of the film succinctly is it's a little bit of a task. So the kind of general points are that like the idea is that Jordan Firstman's character is going to like move in with Sebastian Silva's character, and it's happening soon.
And this is to work on their project, which at this point in the film has only been and it's entirely described as Curb Your Enthusiasm, but like positive.
Which sounds like shit.
It's just like, not only does it not sound like shit, it's also like, that's nothing. Like, what does that mean?
My God. Uh, so yeah, so it's awesome. They're Vero and Sebastian are like lifting this couch to try to bring it downstairs.
Yeah.
And then Sebastian gets like distracted by his phone because his phone keeps getting blown up by Jordan.
Who he has this like mutual hate, but like, well, fuck, this guy like is gonna give me a bunch of money to work on this project and like might get me like in at HBO. So like I have to take it. I have to like cater to this guy's dumb ego, but also like I kind of hate him and find him super annoying and shallow.
Yeah.
So he gets distracted by it because he's pissed off and annoyed, and that causes him to like basically half drop the couch, which throws Vera off, so she stumbles forward. The couch hits him, and he falls into a crevice of the building, landing on a toilet, killing him.
Awesome. So awesome. It's this like internal, like covered sort of gazebo. I don't know what I would call it, but it's a very strange thing. And to make matters worse, Sebastian has a dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned the dog. The dog the whole film, which is just constantly causing problems for everybody.
Chima,
who Vero is convinced is a girl.
Poor Chima. The focus of the film is at this moment like it kind of hops between people, but I would say the grand majority of the rest of the film was spent following Vero around. And she is like she basically like throws a tarp over the body, tells the worker guys to come back another time. She has to do all this like goofy mystery caper shit to like hide the body.
Yeah. And it should also be noted, I think, at that point that like her initial anxiety is not just the usual like, oh, they're not going to think it's an accident. She kind of dissociates because at this point in the film, there's been a tension where Matteo basically is constantly yelling at her for fucking up and is like on the verge of firing her. And she kind of views her tenuous dynamic with Silva as like what will keep her in protection, and she like needs the job for like family like medical treatments. And so her killing Silva, in addition to probably introducing a lot of legal problems, she's definitely gonna get fired.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know what to do. So she just dissociates and goes to her niece's 15-year-old birthday party.
Yeah. It's not only getting fired, but just like legal problems. You know, like deep and extreme legal problems suddenly arising like during a really pivotal moment during your family's history. I just found her plot to be so incredible, and I just found her physicality and like the like quinceañera scene, the way that like it kind of like has all of these specific lines between like the gay beach versus like normal life, huge, you know, air quotes. I know that's like a really homophobic way of framing it, but
that scene also has the incredible moment where she's upset and they're talking, and it's soundtracked by a teenager singing the most out of key Total Eclipse of the Heart karaoke cover.
I am so obsessed.
Like perfectly does the karaoke, like Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Like not in English, in fully in Semlish.
Yeah.
fucked up sounding.
Keeps cracking and like clearly clipping past the microphone's like capabilities. I want to direct Jarlene. This film is like got a great sound editing thing. I noticed where music will start playing in a scene, and even though there will be visual discontinuity, like a jump in time, the song will continue playing spatially to reflect where they are, but it will continue forward with what they're playing. There's I'm blanking on what song they're singing in the opening, but there's in the very opening scene that we mentioned earlier, a woman is singing a cover of a song at the park, and it does that where it's like there's technically moments that are clearly like, you know, like 30-45 seconds after the previous cut, but like the song continues on uninterrupted, which I thought was just like a really interesting editing choice that he does like a couple times. Or like at the beach, there's like a club song that's playing, and it goes from him in the bar to like him on the beach having clearly walked away, so probably like a minute later, but like the song continues, but it continues like mixed down lower as if he is now farther away from it.
Pretty good stuff, Rotting in the Sun.
Yeah, no, like I said, I thought it was a really, really interesting way to have this music kind of weave in where it's both diegetic, but temporally it's non-diegetic. Like temporally it's playing in a way that should not be how it's playing.
Right. I totally forgot until you mentioned at the beginning scene of Chima eating shit.
Yeah. Oh, that's the scene where the person is like, "You hit your dog." And he's like, "I didn't. She was eating shit." And he's like, you should get a trainer to do that. And like somehow that escalates into them being like, "Do you fuck your dog?" And he's just like, "Yeah, whatever. I fuck my dog. Go away."
Yes, I fuck dogs. I'm a dirty fat.
Yeah. That's so fucking funny. The movie needed more like comedy like that. That I think is probably one of the bigger problems I have with it. Is like those scenes are super funny, but very far between.
Yeah, I mean, like, and like, it may be like dramatic, and it may be like, I don't know how to feel about it, but something about like what Vero goes through, it's like. It's very bleak and dark and very comic.
Yeah.
But it's just missing some sort of like absurdity, I guess. Like there's a certain degree of suffering for suffering's sake, which I know we discuss, you know, all over the place. But
I know what you mean. Or it's like it tonally the two never really the for a black comedy movie, the dark parts and the comedy parts never really like meet. Like compare it to something like The Lobster. That's an extremely bleak comedy. But like so much of it, like there are so many moments that are funny because the bleakness gets so absurd. But in this film, like all the absurdity kind of comes like isolated away from the bleakness. Mm-hmm. And the bleakness is isolated away from the comedy. So like Vero doesn't really get a lot of great comedy sequences. And it's really weird, especially because we have Jordan Firstman in it, who is like was a writer for and like a returning cast member for Search Party, and that is like a great example of mixing bleak and comedy in ways where sometimes it's all bleak, but then sometimes the bleakness is so absurd that it's comedy. Like a great example is another person who plays a parody of herself, Jordan's friend Martine.
Oh my God.
Who is a real visual and performance artist named Martine.
She was unbelievably good.
She was
so funny.
So sad we didn't get more of her character because she kills it when she's on scene. Every scene, she's so fucking funny. She does such a great even like self-parody of herself, I assume, where there's like the bit where it's like she's giving this thing and like the curtains drop and she's like sitting in a duct tape holding a baby, like a Renaissance painting, and you just hear some of the crowd go, "Is that a fucking baby?" And then and she's like, she like finishes her line and like looks around and realizes that they don't get it, and she's like, "The target's right there, balls are right there." Okay, go. It's so funny.
Yeah, she has definitely the most like standout presence, especially as like a sort of tertiary character who you don't really see too much of.
Yeah. Also great because she's like clearly a trans woman character who's not centralized or really essentialized as a trans woman. You just can tell that she is because, well, A, she's playing a parody of herself, and B, she's like hanging out with this gay guy, and their dynamic is very clearly like friends who met through like gay and queer spaces and get along because one of them is a gay man and one of them is a trans woman.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody kind of has a sort of like their own. I was pretty satisfied with the sort of web of lies and deceit, the soap opera like whatever, because everybody kind of had their own reasons to be like shifty and a little bit full of shit.
Yeah.
Mateo is like flipping through all of these diary entries about how Sebastian wants to kill himself,
and is realizing that Sebastian might have actually killed himself, and that his phone is full of messages from him telling him to kill himself.
Literally. Very, very funny.
Jordan has his overinvestment in it, but kind of buys himself in a little too deep because he really overstates the nature of their relationship.
Yeah, and he starts going on Instagram and like Instagram Live and stories and all of this stuff.
He like does a call out of him, then like a call to action for him.
Yeah. And then eventually just the complete mess of like drunk,
Yeah.
Face cam shit. His arc throughout the end is really fantastic. Him and Vero have a really good kind of rapport with each other, I would say. I was going to say, I think the thing that's interesting about it is how language, with regards to that, clearly plays a lot into class, because Vero is the only character in the film who can't speak English. Right. And Jordan does not speak Spanish. Yeah. And it's kind of becomes this like, that kind of becomes like a spectrum of wealth where it's like Silva and Mateo. Like Mateo is a landlord. Silva is like a downwards mobile failing like art person. And then Jordan is like a highly successful like American sex tourist, basically. Mm-hmm. And so in the middle, what they end up meeting is that Jordan is both suspicious of Vero, but part of that is also because he can't actually understand her, and so he relies on like a really poor Google auto translating app to help him. Yeah. What did you think of the ending? The ending was like the only part with like the bleaker stuff that I think worked. I like it. I think it's sweet where it's like Vero gets to like let this off her shoulders, but has no idea that like nobody actually knows that she was involved in any way. Yeah. Like, to a certain extent, I was expecting it to just like I was expecting the translator app to just be like, I can't translate that much. Glitch. Goodbye. Which I can envision that being like an earlier version of the script or whatever. Yeah. But I think the idea of it just being kind of gobbledygook a little bit is like, or at least from the perspective of Jordan's character, it definitely opens up more questions than answers.
Yeah.
To the extent that like this character is not going to have the like mental stamina, brain power, or willpower to like figure out what she means by this.
Yeah. Like, despite there being stuff in it that, like, if he thinks about it a little bit, suggests that there's more to the story.
Yeah.
He's just gonna be like, ah, damn, she's just saying nothing again. Like he's just gonna write it off as if she didn't say anything.
It's one of two outcomes. Like, he kind of racistly, misogynistically writes her off as a crazy person. Or two, he's able to, like, piece together a little bit of what she's saying, but then all of a sudden realizes that his emotional investment in Sebastian was actually not that much.
Yeah.
And he's not ready to lead an international manhunt for a cadaver.
God.
That is being eaten by vultures on a rooftop.
It's also, it's like, what a like bold thing to end your film on, is that you the person in the film who died, your body is left on a rooftop being eaten by vultures to be discovered who knows when.
Yeah. Because there's moments in the film where it's like, oh, the smell is so bad.
Yeah.
But then, like, if it's above, then you don't smell it.
Yeah.
Win-win.
And it's also in an area that is, like, under construction, so, like...
That's true.
Just who knows? Literally, who knows? Like, he is, as they say in the title of the film, rotting in the sun. Who knows if his body will be found? Part of the problem is just, like, I didn't super vibe with the film. There's, like, moments I like. You know, we talked about them. Like, there's moments that are really funny. But a lot of the stuff in between those moments, especially the longer the movie went on, I just wasn't really wowed by.
Yeah, I didn't love it. Yeah, pretty much exactly like you said. Like, there are some things that are going to stick with me. I think, like, a movie about a suicidal gay broke artist is always, like, that's always going to strike a chord with me, but, like,
it stops being about that pretty early in the film.
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem, because it's like, that's what I was like, as I was watching it, I was like, I really like this, and then it stopped being about that, and it became like the Pink Panther Returns bullshit.
Yeah, and it started to feel in a certain way that, like, there's this sort of lack of integration between gay life and, or, like, I don't know, there's something, and this is probably something that's, like, more pronounced for people who are trying to actually, like, be involved in the or a industry. Just, like, serious life versus not serious life. Quinceañera life versus gay sex beach life.
Yeah.
Construction life versus performance artist life. Like, I'm always just a little bit, like, about those kind of comparisons, even though, like, I don't, you know, I obviously don't think that these people are being like, you know, art is valueless, get a job. But I don't know, the like the gay self-hate is always, it's always hard.
It's the gay death drive. Yeah, that's what it's about. The whole line where he's like, oh, he prefers feeling dead.
Yeah. You know?
But then it's also funny because then in Jordan we see, like, somebody living the exact same life who is pretty happy, just really shallow, just dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, kind of stupid in a way that you need to be for artistic success. to occur.
The way in which he is like the last person to realize, like, oh, I think Sebastian has depression, like real depression, is like so funny. Like him putting together and piecing like, oh, these things and these conversations we had, and it's like that was like the entirety of your conversation. You're not piecing together things he said. You're just remembering your conversation you had.
All those times that he said he wanted to kill himself, and I would look down at his journal, and it would say in big letters, "I'm gonna kill myself." And he made that one movie that was called "I'm gonna kill myself."
This time I'm really gonna do it.
This time, for real. This time, actually.
A film by Charlie Kaufman.
God, a film by 90% of directors, really. I liked it better the second time I watched it. I will say that much, but that's true of most movies, I feel like.
Yeah, I get that.
I remember the first time being kind of like, man, whatever.
Man, who gives a shit?
Man, whatever.
Man, fuck this.
My United States of whatever. Even though this doesn't take place there at all. Jay Bearhat, what was this movie better than?
Better than and worse than?
Yeah, better than worse than.
I would say, and this is going to be a paradoxical better than, because I would actually recommend the other film still. But it is better than Frisk, which is I believe, let me pull up the exact year. No, not Frost.
Frost Nixon.
A 1995 Ted Varau film. That is an adaptation of the Dennis Cooper novel of the same name. I rated it a lot higher. I air quotes like it more.
Mm-hmm.
But a film that is also featuring a loosely fictionalized version of the original author and involves death and possible cover-ups and is very much so about like weird gay depression and like the gay suicidal death drive. There's like a kind of one of the centerpiece like vignettes in the film is about this gay boy who wants to die but doesn't really actually want to die. He realizes when he is like doing an S&M scene with a guy who's gonna murder him. You know, I liked it, but a lot of that is carried by the fact that I like Dennis Cooper, and it's a very just using the book as a script kind of film. But I think this movie accomplishes the narrative cohesion a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I think Frisk is better vibes, but I think narratively it's kind of really messy and all over the place because it's trying to adapt a style of writing in a book that just is like not really lensing itself well to adaptation. And so it ends up kind of being its own weird. It's an interesting time capsule, but I would say that I think this is technically still an overall better film.
Okay.
But if we're talking about gay narcissists, social media guys who do front-facing videos, I think Rotting in the Sun is worse than The Wondrous Life of Caleb Galo.
Ooh, wow.
Because as I was watching this, I was like, oh, this guy's an evil version of Brian Jordan Alvarez character.
I feel like Sebastian Silva would hate Brian Jordan Alvarez. Based off of the like evidence presented in this film.
Yeah. But I think The Wondrous Gay Life of Caleb Galo, I think it deals with the same type of gay people and the dramas and like the way people like are trying to hide things from each other within that kind of like shallow human elements. I think it does it a lot better than Rotting in the Sun.
Yeah.
And also it's a lot funnier.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely funnier.
It is one of the funniest fucking. And I would call it a it's not technically a movie, but it's like a short series.
I think it's movie length ish.
Yeah.
I mean, if people want a movie from Ryan Jordan Alvarez, a spy movie is relatively recent.
Oh yeah, I need to watch that still.
It's fun, and I that's a very powerful choice, and I agree with you. I quite like The Gay and Wondrous Life.
Thank you. I kept fucking the name up as I think I said something different each time, but yes, you're right. It is the gay. It is the
not an easy name.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, Rotting in the Sun is a better movie than Cruising by William Friedkin. Now, hold on. I know what you might be saying. That is obvious. That couldn't be more obvious.
Well, Cruising just got added to Criterion Collection.
Ooh,
because they're doing the bad movies month.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Cruising famously, just a famously bad movie about, homosexuality, and it's not even about homosexuality, it's kind of like this weaving, winding tale about a murderer, who targets the gay community and is also probably gay. My reason for comparison is that it's like I would simply like put them next to each other to see, like, not that there isn't like actually very sort of lived in documents of homosexuality from the olden times, from like AIDS and pre-AIDS and things like this, but I don't think I have to explain why Cruising isn't good.
Yeah.
It's not a good film. It has it kind of like centers itself around gay stuff without actually reflecting any sort of hyper real aspect of gay life, aside from like poorly lit shots in BDSM clubs that are kind of like even so a little bit cartoony. Well, maybe not, maybe not that cartoony.
But we did cover it.
Hey, we did talk about it.
Throws it back.
We can hear a whole hour-ish of us talking about this damn movie on our Patreon, which you'll hear more about later. So yeah, this is better than Cruising by William Friedkin, but this movie is worse than, and I'm gonna throw a curveball at you here.
I'm ready.
Same director. William Friedkin, Boys in the Band.
Oh. That guy loved doing movies about gay men.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on with that. Boys in the Band is based off of a play. It's really just like a bunch of catty gay guys hanging out and absolutely tormenting each other. Because like they've known each other for so long that they all know each other's like flaws and like things that they're avoiding, and just all of this what have you nonsense. And in terms of like intra-gay community, like in terms of like this kind of interpersonal character drama, I thought that it was more, the characters were a little bit more lived in. They're certainly play-y, and they're certainly like the dialogue is very like that kind of thing. But yeah, very very much unlike Cruising. It's just this very like compelling, interesting, conscientious portrayal of gay life, and it has a lot going on in it. It's just got quite a bit going on. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us on this day where we talk about a new movie on Film Critter Processes.
Yeah. And you can always join us on our Patreon.
For
only $5 a month, you get to vote on and decide for us what movie we will be watching from the past.
From the past, not even from the present or the recent past.
Sometimes, maybe occasionally from the recent past, but not that far, not that recent usually.
Yeah.
But this month we're doing Nepo Babies.
Nepo Babies!
Paul is running
Yippee!
at the time of recording. It's running right now. It might be done by the time it is, but we're looking at movies made by directors who maybe got a little leg up from old mom and dad in the industry.
Oh my goodness. These shameless, rich little vampires. I'm just stomping on my hat.
I'm shaking my fist at them.
Shaking my fist. They cut their way in line to, make a bunch of mid.
Yeah. Or sometimes, good enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll be exploring that very thing.
Yeah.
Are Nepo Babies valid, actually?
Are Nepo Babies real? And we'll be having expert in the field, Phoebe Bridges.
Is she a Nepo Baby?
I feel like she's absolutely an industry plant.
Oh, that's right. Her dad is Sam Porter Bridges from Death Stranding.